Hi, my name is Robert Newhouse. I'm a sophomore business major at UK, and today I'll be talking about two infographics that I found online. The infographics are specifically about climate change, and I'll talk about what I like about each one, what I dislike about each one, what I think works well, what I think doesn't work well, and also an element in class that I either see in the infographic or that I think could be added. And then I will also talk about an infographic that I created. The first infographic that I would like to talk about is one about what you can do to help prevent and slow down the climate change process. I believe that the audience for this infographic is for people who have a good understanding of what it is and want to know how to help. I found it on the JP Morgan website on an article titled, "How Can I Invest in Climate Change?" I will not talk about what I believe works well for this infographic. The first thing that I believe works well is that it is very well organized. The three colors of blue, light blue, and orange work well in order to separate the three steps shown of reduce, remove, and retrofit. I also think that the bullet points inside each section make this infographic fairly easy to read and understand. The bold text on the far left also helps the reader tell what the topic for each row will be. I will now move on to what I don't think works particularly well for this infographic. Firstly, I think that it is far too text heavy. In fact, there are no pictures that help give context to what is being said. Also, with there being so much text, I feel that the text that is there is too small, making it kind of hard to read. I think that this infographic could have been better if there have been more images. If I were to have had a say in the design, I would have used something like uniform connectedness, part of Gestalt's theory, and have the graphic flow with some sort of linear image related to the topic. With all that being said, I believe that this infographic is for people who already have knowledge of climate change, and I also believe that it was created by a critical thinker, and I believe that because it portrays necessary information and has little to no creative output, which is shown by the lack of images. I will now talk about the other infographic that I found. I found this infographic on maxwholesale.com. I believe that this infographic is for an audience of people who do not have a clear understanding of what climate change is. I believe this because it gives a very basic explanation of what it is, why it's happening, and how we can stop it. And now I will talk about what I think is good about this infographic. I think that the main and subtitles look very good and are very good at showing what each section is and what it's going to tell you. The next good part about it is the fact that it is not too text heavy. And I think that is good because the audience is probably people who are not too familiar with the topic, so not having many words is good. And I think that the pictures in the background add a very nice touch, and I also believe that the colors are very good because they help differentiate each section with the orange, the blue, the greens. I think overall it's very good. And from the lectures, we know that Gestalt's theory is a theory about how the brain interprets certain images. In this infographic specifically, there is proximity ground segregation, meaning that there are things in front of each other and behind each other, such as like the words appearing in front of an image in order to make them pop. And I believe that whoever created this is probably a mix of a kind of a creative and critical thinker, simply because the information is put in a very efficient manner, but there's also creativity with the colors and obviously the proximity ground segregation and the images. All right, next is the infographic that I made. Overall, I believe that this infographic is made for an audience that is in between someone who doesn't know anything about climate change and someone that has maybe very little knowledge about it. I believe that the infographic that I made is the best of the both worlds compared to the ones that I previously showed. I think that the colors and spacing make for a very balanced graphic. It's very readable. And I believe that it was made by a critical thinker because I believe that I'm a critical thinker. And I think that because it relies heavily on the text, but also the color scheme can also be helpful when it comes to like remembering things. So I think that is nice. And according to the lecture in class, colors are very important when it comes to logos, ads, and graphics for businesses and organizations. So for my infographic, I decided to use multiple colors in order to engage the readers, as well as so they can associate each line with a color and it can be remembered like that. So in conclusion, I believe that the first infographic was pretty poorly made and that the second one and the one that I made were probably the two better ones. I just feel that the first one was probably a little bit too text heavy, making it like pretty hard for like anybody to really understand. And I believe that mine and the second one had they were more vibrant and the words were like more easy to understand. So I believe that those two are better.